My name's Ronnie Goings. I'm from Cypress, Texas. My story is about guardian abuse, court-sanctioned guardian abuse. My mother-in-law, Helen Hale, has 6 children. The youngest child, who lives in Dripping Springs, which is about 4 hours away, we contacted her when my mother-in-law and father-in-law were both in the hospital in 2010. They were both in ICU. We were scared that one or both of them may not make it out. This daughter, the youngest daughter, Linda Diane Cheatham, the name's appropriate, hadn't seen her parents, called her parents, or talked to her parents in over 12 years. We called when her mom and dad were in the hospital. Her and her husband came down to see them. We thought everything was going to work out, maybe bring them back into the family. Things didn't work that way. Father passed away in December of 2010. Within a month after, we had the funeral service because he had donated his body to science. When we got the remains back, we held a funeral service down the street. She came in for the service, but didn't attend the service. She stayed at the house and emptied out Mom and Dad's credenza for reasons we're pretty sure of. That's nevertheless. Then a month later, she filed for guardianship of her mother and filed to be the executor on her father's estate and filed his will. Harris County Probate Court number 4 made her the guardian, unbeknownst to any of the other 5 children. We had received a citation that her attorney was supposed to have filed, and in that citation there was no court date, there was no time, place. So once we found out that she was appointed guardian, we contacted the courts, my wife, one of her daughters, and her elder sister. And the court refused to listen to them. We told them we weren't notified. They said, well, we were notified that we should have hired an attorney to find out when the court date was. Which, well, we didn't feel that it was necessary to hire an attorney. My mother and father-in-law had built a house across the street from us on our property that we had given them almost 15 years ago. That was when they were in their early 70s. The intent and the reason that they moved here was so that my wife and I would be able to take care of them. We built a home that was big enough to be able to take care of them when they were unable to take care of themselves. And the whole family was in line with that, except for this daughter that never showed up again once they got through building the house for our mother. And anyway, the courts refused to listen to us about the citation, so we started reading the probate laws, guardianship laws for the state of Texas, and found that indeed they were supposed to give us notification of the time and the date in that citation. The court took away the guardianship from Diane and set up a new trial or a new hearing. We attended the hearing. They appointed a guardian ad litem until the judge reached her decision. After speaking with a guardian ad litem after the end of court, and our concern was how much money this was going to cost our mother-in-law. She was living on a limited income, which was her railroad retirement. The attorney ad litem, or guardian ad litem, whatever she was called, Marcia Peavy, informed us, oh, well, it shouldn't run any more than $300 or $400 a month. She told this to 5 children and myself. That was not the case. It was more in the neighborhood of $3,000 or $4,000 a month, just for her to do the paperwork at all. What happened is the courts got involved in this guardianship, which we don't feel should have ever been applied for in the first place. The other 5 children all agreed who was going to take care of the parents And as a group, we were all going to look after them, but they were going to live with us. If there's some reason we had to go out of town, one of the other children would stay here with them. It was no problem. It was all worked out. That was the family plan until the courts got involved. The courts on every angle, every letter we wrote, we were admonished, we were put down, we were made out to be some type of thieves, and the only person they would listen to was Linda Diane Cheatham, which I guess was because it was more profitable for the guardian ad litems, the attorney ad litems, and the people that the court could appoint to be her guardian. Within just a few short months of 2011, let's see, April of 2011, Marcia Peavy was assigned to be her guardian ad litem, and she was guardian of the person, guardian of the estate. We saw money being thrown away just left and right. It was unbelievable, the things that she was charging for. We had told her about one of the sons that had been living with his parents, that he had a cocaine problem. He was addicted to crack. Let's get him out of the house. You need to get him out of the house. We can be the caregivers for her. We'll move her into here. They wouldn't hear of it. Finally, 3 months later, she files all the documents for an eviction, but never followed through. But now she charged for filing it. She charged for researching it. Never followed through. Instead, she decided to just turn the electricity off on the house. Well, she cut the electricity off, and let's see, the refrigerator was still going, or refrigerator was full of food, freezer was full of food. She didn't secure the home. It was never locked up. On August the 3rd of 2011, August the 4th, I believe it was, the day after her birthday, she moved our mother-in-law out of her house next door to us and put her in a home, which was actually a residential home that was a care facility for the elderly. There were 3 or 4 other people in this home. After doing some research and going over, we would bring my mother-in-law the foods that she liked to eat, but we would always bring enough for the whole house and even the sitters or the caretakers that were there. After a couple of months, my mother-in-law started developing some problems. She had to go in the hospital, I believe, once. The second time, my wife went over there and said, "Listen, my mom doesn't look right. Let's get her to the hospital." Well, the woman refused to do it. So my wife gave her the ultimatum that she could either take her to the hospital or my wife was going to go back out to her car and call 911 to come get her. She said, "Something's wrong with my mother. I know my mother better than anyone." Finally, after the woman calls the attorney, with my wife standing there, says, "We got us a situation here." And after hearing what the lady had to say, the attorney told her to go ahead and take her to the hospital. Her potassium level was critically low, 2.6 or 2.8. The doctors had told us that that was very critical. Had she not come into the hospital, she might have lived a couple of more days. When the attorney, Marcia Peavy, filed a report with the court, her potassium level was slightly lower than the norm, is the way she put it. Anyway, as time goes on, we find out that the home that this Mrs. Peavy has her in, she has several of these homes around Houston that she keeps elderly people in, that she's the guardian of their estate and guardian of the person. And anyway, we come to find out that after doing a search, this woman was a convicted felon that was running the home. Within 2 days after we made that discovery to the court, everyone was removed out of that home. This woman collects 5% of every dime she brings in for the estate. If she takes $100,000 out of this account and moves it into an estate account, she takes 5% by law. Now, who writes the laws? Well, the politicians, the lawyers write the laws, and the lawyers are the ones that are enforcing them, and the lawyers are the ones that are making the money off of them. I'm not saying all attorneys do that, but this woman, it was reported by the Chronicle that did some research on this situation. She was the highest paid guardian attorney in the state of Texas. She knows what she's doing, and she's as crooked as the day is long. She has several other attorneys on her payroll. They work together hand in hand, trying to hide things. We've looked at probate hearings that she was involved in, and seen where some of the homes that she had asked to sell, they would sell one day, and the home may sell again the next day, may sell again in a couple of weeks. I know once the court appointed a receiver to sell my mother-in-law's home across the street, they asked that they told the appraiser, we want the appraisal to come in on the low end so we can turn the house fast. That's so they can get their money, their hands on that money. It's all predicated upon greed. The worst thing about these guardianship laws, when you look at the Texas statutes under guardianships, chapter 13 or section 13, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 300 paragraphs or sections. The majority of them pertain to the attorneys, how they collect their money, what they can collect their money for, what they're to do for the person, or for what they call now the ward of the state. The wards of the states are screwed when it comes to the Texas laws dealing with probates and guardianships. If family doesn't get a hold of them, if you don't have something in writing, if you don't have a declaration of guardianship in the event you become incapacitated, I don't know if it's like that in other states, but the attorneys in the state of Texas can rob you blind, your entire estate. You're going to have to give me a second.